Last night, we got what we were all waiting for. The last chance in the Armory was announced. It was announced for the Sport and Field collection, the Train 2025 collection, the Sugarface 2 stickers, and the Elemental Craft stickers. Prices, of course, moved in response to this announcement around roughly 20 to 40% on average. A common take going around right now is that these gains were not as much as they expected initially. Well, I'm here to calm you down and tell you that take is wrong. And if you listen to it and subscribe to those types of beliefs, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money in the next few months or so. And that's because you need to look at price action in context. In the context of this market right now, a 20 to 40% gain is absolutely fucking killing it. But you must zoom out. Welcome back to the Armory Report. This is the Armory Report we've all been waiting for, baby. And if you've been here a while, fucking called it. So my call. I think 2 collections go, and I think they're going to be Train, and I think the other one is going to be Sport and Field. Train 2025 is the highest conviction of the Great job, past Mike Water 9, and thank you all for tuning in on Twitch last night. That was a fucking nuts experience. If you did follow the conviction and you did make a little bit of money on Train or Sport and Field, consider donating to a good cause. I will have the fundraiser on the side of the screen, in which all the money goes straight to YouTube, so I'm not gonna fucking steal it. Now, the timeline on the Armory that I predicted, of course, no one could have predicted. It was just completely off pattern by Valve, but it's here now. It doesn't really matter. But people are a little bit confused, right? They look at graphic design, which was the first collection removed, and they see that a lot of the skins within it 2x or 3x or 2.5x, and they're wondering why Sport and Field or why Train isn't doing the same immediately, right? The Armory sucks, discontinuation doesn't work anymore as a valid strategy, yada yada yada. And this is why you need context and to not be a brainless moron. Let's look at the general state of the market, and let's just look at a few skins right now and their recent price action. AK Inheritance, 1 month, down 10%. M4 Party Animal, last 30 days, down 30%. M4 Hot Rod, last 30 days, down 10%. Op Electric Hive, last 30 days, down 40%. I'm sure there's worse ones than that. I know there's better ones than that. But those are 4 random guns I clicked on, because that is what's happening in the market right now. As we discussed yesterday on DE News before the rotation occurred, the market dipped 7 days in a row, red across the board, and within 2 hours of the Armory rotation happened, every single skin you owned in Train, in Sport and Field, went back up 40 to 50% on average. So did you actually go up 40 to 50%? No. You went up a lot higher than 40 to 50% now, didn't you? Because last week, your M4 Fade was 350, a Deagle Blaze was 800. Now, that Deagle Blaze is still 800, and your M4 Fade is 450. Your buying power increased relative to other skins. Stop looking at just the percentage number, look at the context of the market. If the floor on other items drops 30% and your item goes up 30%, that's a 1.8x. Perfectly in line with graphic design's removal. So if you read the tweets and you read the nonsense that motherfuckers who think they have a brain are talking about right now, natural selection, go ahead and sell your skins. I'll buy them for you. Now, the other reason for graphic design's increase in terms of just pure raw percentage points was that not only was it the first collection removed from the Armory, it was the only skin collection removed from the Armory. This time, notably, there's 2. So obviously capital is going to spread across both collections. If graphic design moved 2x on average, then 1.5x in Sport and 1.5x in Train, pretty much equal now, isn't it? So in terms of pure capital injected into the market, it probably wasn't any smaller, it was just wider in span. Now, if you're disappointed that you didn't buy into Train, or you're disappointed that you didn't buy into Sport and Field as much as you would have liked to, I wouldn't worry about it too much, and I wouldn't buy today. You see, yesterday, upon news, everyone and their mother bought a fuck ton of skins from these collections. Not only that, the stickers and all the other shit that was removed, which means that 7 days from yesterday, all of that stuff is going to be listed once the prices kind of trend upwards over the next 6 days, right? With all of these things on trade and market hold, they can't put them up. Listings will go down. Price will generally trend upwards if I had to take a guess. So I wouldn't buy in the next 6 days, but that 7th day, you're gonna see a lot of shit just kind of fall. Wait for that, that'll be your best buying opportunity. But of course, the best time to buy was a few months ago. Let's be honest, if you didn't buy, they gave you an extra 3 weeks to buy. If you didn't buy, that's your fault. But that's enough graphic design for the day. Let's talk about the 3 skin collections, Train, Sport, and Overpass. Train 2025, my fucking love of my life. It's a hold, not an exit in general, right? If you wanted to sell, you could sell the blues that, you know, don't trade up to the Tech 9 Whiteout, as those are going to be the most expensive and most sought after blues. But holding them is not a bad idea either. I'm gonna make a whole video on Train, again, probably like 10. So, don't worry that I don't give too much information. Now, in terms of Sport and Field, I think Valve knew they had to discontinue this one compared to Overpass. The Overpass could realistically survive another 6 months. I'll get to that in a moment. I'll show you a video of my explanation why. And that's because all of the M4 fades that have been redeemed, 97% of them, so effectively 100% of them are factory new. 80,000 may seem like a lot. It's really not. If you look at any type of case covert, pretty much it's just dwarfed in comparison in terms of supply. So again, not entirely worried about the supply in general, but it is high. It's definitely high. So that number will still grow from trade ups, but it will never grow at the rate in which it was over the last year and a half. But what does look good is not necessarily the numerator, which is that number right there, but the denominator, which is the total players playing the game. Right, on average, there's like 1 million concurrent players on the game of CS2. 80,000 M4 fades, that's just what it was when I checked it last. That means that's 1 M4 fade for every 12.5 players playing the game. In the last 3 weeks, Animgraph 2 drop. They got rid of Screen Shake last night in the update. They added Bullet Flinch in the update. Animgraph 2 makes the game feel infinitely better. Animgraph 2 gives lower tier computers a chance to play the game with actual good optimization updates, which I believe on average raise the game's FPS by 15 to 20% on low-end PCs. Congrats, you just opened up a whole new player base that you couldn't even previously access due to them not being able to play the game, priced out due to the requirements needed hardware-wise. So hype is back. Cash is getting added to Face It today. It's already here. Cash will eventually get added to the fucking game. Who knows when they do that? We're getting new collections in 2 weeks. They're gonna release the Steam machine soon. And now that hardware could probably play CS pretty well. All of this shit's coming together. It's definitely intentional by way of Valve releasing it all together. Hype will stay, attention will stay on the game and the next major in a month. So all eyes are on this game and the future is very bright. So let's say that player count goes up to 2 million. Now you have 1 M4 fade for every 6.25 players instead of 1 in every 12.5. That's how supply shrinks in this market. Quick word from our sponsor, skins.com. Skins.com is the newest sponsor on our channel. They have just released a P2P trading platform looking to compete with the best players in the space. If you don't want to wait that long, they do have an insta-sell feature on the site in which the rates are the best I've seen, just straight up. When the market is down, everything is on sale. And with the deals you're getting on skins.com, you could start your position basically up 20 to 25%. Try out skins.com and be a part of the future of CS2 skin trading. I will have a code soon, so stay tuned for that. And of course, we have a giveaway here for an Ursus knife Marble Fade in factory new. Go on my Twitter for a little bit more information there. Now that is a positive outlook on the game. Not everything can go to plan. I understand that, which means that you could probably sell Sport and Field over the next 6 days or so. Don't sell on that 7th day, it's gonna be a disaster. But over the next 6 days, it's definitely a reasonable thing to sell because every other collection in the fucking game is down 40%. The entire market is down 40%. There's probably plays that will increase more than Sport and Field in the next 3 months than Sport and Field will. However, to think that Sport and Field will crash to 0 over time is completely insane. It's a discontinued collection. It'll do fine. It may not grow at the rate in which you think it would. The timeline definitely increased by it being another 3 weeks there. Sentiment absolutely dropped crazy, but it doesn't really matter long term. I think you'll be fine. So you could rotate to any of those collections. You could also rotate into Anubis. Anubis is a little bit of a more speculative play, but I think there's a pretty decent chance Anubis 2026 is in the Armory next. Whether that's the Arabesque collection, whether it's made in-house by Valve, doesn't really matter. I do think there's a 50% chance. Or you could move into Overpass. Sorry for my boys who were convicted on Overpass. I won't speak on it here directly, but here's a video from 2 months ago explaining why I think Overpass won't go. I think I explained it pretty well. Now, Sport and Field and Overpass is the more interesting debate because those two are pretty much neck and neck, and I think Sport and Field goes for 2 reasons. One is that sharp decrease in redemptions after the Season 4 update. That's telling because it tells us that a lot of that demand was in fact coming from people anticipating it being removed and not actual organic demand for the guns within the case. The Overpass collection stayed on that sharp increase even after Season 4, which shows more demand for the collection right now, and thus will probably survive another 6 months. The second reason, imagine you go to a restaurant and one of them only has 5 dishes and the other one has 20 dishes. After a few times you go there, the ones with 5 dishes, you're gonna get sick of it and bored rather quickly. The one with 20, it's gonna take you a little bit longer time. That's what's going on with the Sport and Field and Overpass collection in the sense of the guns themselves. The Overpass collection has the AKB the Monster, the AWP Krakow, and the Zeus. All of those have large float ranges. The smallest one I believe is the Zeus, and it's like 0 to 0.8 or 0 to 0.9. The Be the Monster 0 to 0.8, and the AWP is a full 0 to 1. The Sport and Field collection, the two pinks are like 0 to 0.5 and 0 to 0.7, and the M4 Fade is 0 to 0.08. So supply actually like starts to increase and get saturated much more quickly for that collection as opposed to the Overpass collection. So while there might be the same amount of AK Be the Monsters and M4 Fades, there's 50,000 factory new M4 Fades and like not 50,000 AK Be the Monsters in factory new. So you can realistically have the Overpass collection last another 6 months without the supply and saturation of all of them getting absolutely nuked. So that's my reasoning for why they removed Sport over Overpass. But in all honesty, although I didn't have a lot of Overpass stuff compared to what I had in Train and what I had in Sport and Field, I will probably hold my Overpass stuff and buy more with some of the profit I make from those two collections that just got removed. The reason being, we can pretty much absolutely 100% guarantee it gets removed in October now. Now that'll definitely be priced in before October, but if it continues to dip pretty hard, you do have yourself a fine buying opportunity here, right? The timeline absolutely increased by it being there another 6 months, so you're gonna have to take that into account, right? That money's not gonna be necessarily liquid as fast as you probably wanted it to be, but that's fine if you can afford to hold it for that long. Realistically, how many redemptions are going to occur in Overpass from now until October, right? No one's gonna redeem it right now, right? People are redeeming Train, if anything, or they're redeeming Sport and Field if they're just brain dead, but there are tons of brain dead people here, I promise. And then when 2 new collections come out, or maybe even 3, you think motherfuckers are gonna open Overpass? No fucking shot. So I can't realistically expect supply to really go up, like, in the grand scheme of things at all in the next 6 months or so. But that's for the collections. The most notable, or should I say lack thereof, last chance was the notably missing charms. All 4 charm collections are staying, meaning that the 2 oldest ones, Missing Link and Small Arms, will, by the time of the next update, be in the game for 2 years without being removed. Now, I definitely had a fuck ton of AK, diecast AK charms, so I definitely noticed. Someone said, and I thought it was probably the best explanation for it, is that the 2 newer collections were underperforming, so they left the 2 higher performing ones in there, and they'll rotate them next Armory update in October. I think that makes sense, but I also don't believe it has the same amount of nuance that Valve applied to their collection discontinuation philosophy, because they obviously looked hard at Train, Overpass, and Sport, but the charm collections, I don't think it's possible that they could not have taken into account that sticker slabs completely destroyed that market. Sticker slabs were released a month after the new charm collections were added and effectively created an infinite amount of charms. So obviously that's going to undercut the demand for charms and thus the price. So I can't see them being surprised by that in the slightest. It's very interesting. I'm definitely going to make a video about charms in and of itself because it's definitely interesting and definitely intentional. So I do think there's some speculation that deserves to be had in regards to the charms. And also in the Call to Armory workshop update, they asked for Dr. Boom community charms. So there's a realistic chance we have 5 charm collections when the next army rotation happens, which I find very strange, but also in the same vein as Overpass. I'm just gonna hold on to my AKs, throw them in a storage unit, see what happens there. They do fill a very weird niche, and I do think the fact that they have 100,000 patterns as opposed to the 1,000 on normal skins, it just still kind of interests me. And even if, you know, the charms aren't necessarily an end and just something to look cool with and like find cool patterns, I'm cool with that too. Now, Sugarface 2 was the least redeemed collection in the Armory by a country fucking mile. Now, obviously that super low supply opens it up to manipulation, potentially, but it also doesn't, because there's just simply no demand for it. You can pump the sticker up to $300. If no one buys it at $300, then it's not worth $300. It runs pretty parallel to the frogs from Riptide, right? No one liked those when they came out, and they've just kind of trended upwards because they're just so rare at this point. And I do think Sugarface will have that type of long-term type of price action, as it sort of just builds like a little community, like a little cult like Sugarface 2 Riptide Frog group. Nothing wrong with that. I just think that's how it's going to actually manifest in the market in terms of pricing. I don't think this will get any more attention than it did when it was in the Armory. But congratulations on your conviction. Now for Elemental Craft stickers, what I like to do when the stickers get removed is I would just sell the blues that were previously under 40 cents and are now over 40 cents. Because with blues, there's so high supplied and we don't know the supply of stickers, so it's best to just be safe rather than sorry, right? If you don't know why I'm saying 40 cents, it's because one Armory star is equivalent to 40 cents if you do the math out. So by getting a break even on the most common thing within the collection, that's fine with me. I'll hold the higher tier ones as those have more long-term prospects, obviously just because of lower supply. But also importantly and good for the collection is the fact that they're craft stickers, which means that they're never going to be put in slabs. Slabs hurt supply drain over time. That's why I believe they're mostly for major stickers or the community stickers. They're not going to do as well because you can just slab them and people are never going to really apply them if they don't have to. Applications will stay pretty much unchanged from the sticker slabs with the craft stickers. So I do think that we're completely fine there. I don't have too many of these stickers. I don't buy the stickers a ton because you just don't know the supply numbers. So I don't want to buy something in which I can't have the full scope of data on. But application rates do tell you which ones to buy, even if you buy a little. That's what I did personally. I bought some of the high heats. I bought the rainbow roots. I bought some of the ruby streams, but that's about it. Not too many. But the ones that I will sell will be the ones that cross that 40% threshold. And that's our armory. And if we pull back the armory up, Animgraph 2, FPS boosts, cash coming back. This is the biggest update since the release of the fucking game. The armory update is imminent. I do think there's a pipe dream chance we get something today. Probably not. Probably next week if I had to take a guess. Now, graphic design was given a 3-week buffer before it was removed. I don't think that happens this time, right? It was the first time a collection was released from the armory. It was the first time a collection got discontinued from the armory, so you have to take that into account. And 3 weeks was an ample amount of time for people to buy passes, earn stars, and redeem graphic design. Since that is already known now, I don't think Valve waits 3 weeks. I think there's a pipe dream chance it happens today because it's Wednesday. Probably not, but 7 days from now, 14 days from now makes the most sense. I don't think they go 21 days. They obviously could. I don't think it happened. All I gotta say is if you held your conviction, you believed in what you bought, you did your own research, congratulations. If you're panicking, selling, complaining about anti-cheat, fuck off to Valorant. No one wants you here anyways.